Today I'm going to talk about how I decide on a route when I'm in a new place. 5.24 miles, 8 minutes, 5 seconds per mile today in the Ghost 11 GTX. I've been traveling a lot over the past month, and it's required me to figure out a couple of different new routes to run. And so I thought that today I'd go over how I do that, especially because I'm going to be picking yet another new route as we're getting ready to leave for my sister's house to celebrate the new year. So I'll use as an example the route that I ran in DC. A couple of weeks ago, I was back in DC for work, and I've been there before, and so I kind of had an idea of where I wanted to run, but I was staying at a different hotel than last time. Slightly different area, not hugely different, but still close to the National Mall, which is, I think, one of my favorite places to run. And so what I typically do when I'm trying to figure out, how, and I'm getting prepared for a trip and I want to do some running, is first I look at the weather just to see what the conditions are going to be like there. If it's going to be rainy, if it's going to be like really rainy and really cold, I might opt for the hotel treadmill. But if I can, I like to get out because it's a really great way to see a city. The other thing that I do is I kind of take a look using Google Maps. That's like the main tool that I use for any big can't miss items. So if there's places with really great views or landmarks, and DC is full of landmarks that I want to see, that's something that I kind of keep an eye towards. The other thing that I really look for is I don't like to commute to go run. And so a lot of times for my travel, I'm there for work and time is at a premium. And so I don't have time, or I might not even have a car to go drive 30 minutes, an hour to get somewhere, go run, and then drive back and then get showered up and then head back to work. That's just too much time. And so I like to try and find something right outside if I can. And DC is very amenable to that. And so this time what I did was I kind of zoomed to an area where I could see the National Mall and my hotel. And then I start looking for directions. And that's the thing that I mainly use. And you set it to the walking directions. And you clear out the current location, or you can use your current location if you're searching from where you are. But I was trying to search a little bit ahead of time. And so I put in the hotel where I was going to be staying, and then I looked for different waypoints. And so the first point that I wanted to stop at was the Capitol building. So you click at the Capitol building, and then from there I zoomed out a little bit to see where I wanted to go to next. And the next spot I wanted to go to was the White House. So then you add another point on your trip in Google Maps, and then you click on the part where you want to go. And then from there, zoomed out again. I knew I want to come down towards the Washington Monument before I headed past the World War II Memorial and over towards the Lincoln Memorial. And so I did that and added another point at the Lincoln Memorial. And as you do that, it might give you directions that are the most convenient for walking, but not necessarily the most scenic. And so the other thing that I do is, as you're looking at the blue dotted line that Google Maps gives you, you can drag on any of those points and rearrange them so that it makes it fit towards the path you want to take. And then the last leg was to bring me back down towards my hotel. And that's always the part that's really confusing for me, because in that part of DC, you're not really along the National Mall anymore. I mean, I could have done that, but I wanted to go closer to the water. And there I always get turned around for whatever reason. And so I set out the map, and I had to drag it a little bit to get it to go exactly the way that I wanted to towards my hotel. And then the thing got all wonky and had me going in a circle, and it's okay because I'm only using it for loose guidance. I don't really need to know exactly how far it's going to be taking me on any given route. I just want to get an idea of how far would I run if I ran this route. Because I might get lost, things might not be exactly what I expect them to be, and I might see something else that I didn't really notice that I would want to go check out from, say, like a map looking at it from thousands of miles away. That's always something I kind of build time in for, and I usually look for something that's in about like the 6 to 8 mile range. That's a good medium length run for me to do while I'm on a work trip. And so for the work trip that I had in DC, that ended up being just about right. The actual route that I ran was pretty similar to what I had planned out. It ended up being a little bit longer and taking a little bit longer than I thought because there's so much stuff to stop and take pictures of when you're in DC. So keep that in mind too, is if there's a lot of kind of photo opportunities, that's going to take a little bit longer in terms of scheduling your time. Now, the other thing that I do before I like kind of commit this map, not to memory, but kind of to memory, and I could download it, I could send it to my phone, I could do all those things, but I generally try not to. I try to keep the route relatively simple and try to keep an idea of where I'm going to go and kind of let the route dictate itself once I'm out there. The thing that I do try to make sure ahead of time to do though is I look at all the major intersections. So if I ever have to cross what looks like a highway or a major street, I always go grab the street view guy in Google Maps and I take a look at that just to make sure if I have to go over a road or under a road, like under a bridge, is there a path for me to go? Or is there a way for me to get across that? Or is this a road that doesn't actually, it looks like it goes over the highway but doesn't actually happen? That happened to me in Asheville, North Carolina when I ran there a while back, so lesson learned from when I was back there that time. So I was doing this as I was planning for a run in Connecticut when we're going to go visit my sister, and I had a little bit of a route planned out, followed kind of the same thing. I looked at the weather, it's going to be relatively warm, above freezing, so I would consider that warm for this time of year. And I had about like a 6 mile route planned, but it was going to take me along some roads that might be busy. And on the East Coast, there's a lot of roads that just don't have sidewalks because you're like where I usually end up on the East Coast. It's a little bit more like suburbia, and sometimes there's sidewalks, sometimes there's not. And fortunately, I had done the Street View check on this route as well because it looked like it would be a nice, calm route, but doing the Street View check showed that there were certain areas where there is going to be 2 lanes of traffic each way, and that road looked like the traffic was going to be moving really fast, and there's going to be no sidewalk and also guardrails leading almost right up to the road. And so there was going to be no place for me to run there, and so that would have been unsafe for me to do. So I had to scrap that route, and I scrolled around a little bit more on Google Maps. I usually look for water or the big green spaces that indicate parks. And then when you zoom in on the park, sometimes you can see trails or the outline of trails. And sometimes you can even see street view level of what those trails are going to look like. Now, a lot of times in these East Coast parks, those trails are kind of just the access roads for people to get around. But a lot of times that's a good starting point. And then once you get there on the ground, you can kind of look around and see where are people running in this park. And get a feel for it that way. And so right now I'm kind of thinking about like a 4 mile and change loop, but I think that if I leave kind of the street viewable path, then I can make it a little bit longer to make it like 5 miles or so. Or if I can't, maybe I'll just run that loop 2 times. So that's always an option as well. The other thing that I'm going to make sure to do is in the part of Connecticut where my sister lives, the roads are very narrow. People drive really fast. It's hilly, it's curvy, and it's not very well lit. And so I'm going to bring lots of reflective gear. I always try to bring lots of reflective gear and armbands and lights with me when I'm running in a new place because I just don't always know what the lighting situation is going to be like. Here in Chicago, I usually don't wear a lot of reflective gear or lights. I probably should, but I don't. Because most of the places that I run have street lights on them. Even the path very early in the morning is lit, and so I don't have to worry too much about that. And for the most part, where I run doesn't have that many cars. So it's okay, but when I'm going to go to Connecticut, I have a feeling that I'm going to be like tiptoeing along the edge of a road that doesn't have a sidewalk and maybe does not have a lot of clearance for cars. So I'm going to bring, my wife just got me, not as a Christmas gift, as more of a getting ready for hunting season in Iowa. Not that we hunt, but getting ready for the hunters that are in Iowa. A big yellow reflective vest. I think there's lights in it too. So I'll be bringing that with me for the trip. And hopefully I'll find a nice new path to run. I ran in a couple other places before in Connecticut, but I'm trying to find something else. Hopefully I can find something that I don't necessarily have to drive to go get. So we'll see how that goes. But that's all I have in terms of making a route or finding a new route or a new place to run using Google Maps. Let me know if you have any questions about that, or if you have a different way that you use to find and explore a new area. I'd love to hear about it, because I'm always looking for new ways to find places to run when I go to a new city. Before I go, I want to talk about today's charity runner for the day. Today's charity runner for the day is Stuart Gray. He's going to be running the 2019 Edinburgh Marathon, and he's going to be raising money for MacMillan Cancer Support, because that is an organization that was able to help out his father. So that organization has a special place in Stuart's heart. So I've donated $5, and I'll post a link in the description down below in case you're interested in learning more. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?